got done watching the brand new Godzilla show coming over to Apple TV streaming service called Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. It's set after the battle between Godzilla and the Titans, revealing that the monsters are real and following one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and its legacy, linking them to Monarch itself. Now, when it comes down to Godzilla, I've grown up with this damn big ass monster. I've loved him since I was a child. I love King Kong as well. And this whole Monsterverse, I think, has been quite a fun and entertaining time. Every time one of these movies come out, I know I'm going to have a blast. The characters might not always be there and are obviously the worst aspect of it all, but each and every one I just continue to have an awesome time with. And Monarch, I was not excited for at all when it was announced. I actually rolled my eyes at even the concept of it. I was like, keep this on the big screen. All we want to see is the monsters. Anything that comes down to between the humans and Monarch itself honestly feels very lackluster in the films and honestly are the slowest aspects of it all. And finally, once and for all, I can say that Monarch proves me wrong with this and makes it to be now one of the more interesting aspects of this brand new Monsterverse. And actually makes you take a whole other look at this now. Now, as full kind of just housekeeping, I have seen the first 5 episodes of Monarch. I have not seen the last 5. I'm very excited to see those when they do premiere, so this is more of just a review for those first 5. But if there's any indication, this show is absolutely incredible and one of my favorite new TV shows of this year. And I think Apple TV really has a solidified winner now. They've had Ted Lasso, they've had Silo, they've had quite a few other ones, but when it comes down to big budget stuff that makes people want to go towards a streaming service, I'm so happy to see that this Godzilla show really does work. But what I do want to say is I keep saying Godzilla show because that is how it's going to be easily marketed to most people. It is not that. While the monsters and the Titans are all absolutely, for a portion of this show, front and center, the front and center part of this is the characters, is Monarch itself, is this conspiracy, but also how humans and humanity are adapting to knowing monsters are real. And what I was most impressed with by this show is by episode 5, it really hit me that this, in a way, is taking a book out of The Leftovers, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. That show is a damn masterpiece. I'm not going to say this show's a masterpiece because it's not. I think there's some slow bits to it all, but that show and how it shows humanity dealing with 7% of the population just disappeared. This is kind of the same way of showing how humanity and humans and our world is now working with monsters, with Godzilla and all these titans being known to everything. Alongside that, you have this intriguing conspiracy theory that from within the first 20 minutes of the first episode, you're hooked on just the character dynamic itself because of certain reveals. But from then on, the ties to their life and how Monarch is a part of it. And it only gets better and better from there because characters like Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell are playing the exact same character in different timelines. And usually I despise when shows or movies are playing off in 2 different timelines. It's usually really messy. This show makes it work, even though it is not like, oh, when you're watching this timeline, it correlates to this aspect. I don't know how they decided to edit and bring these certain timelines in different fruitions. A lot of that goes down to the writers, goes down to the editors, so shout out to all of them, of course, but the way that they're able to edit this show together as well on the writing level, for all of it to just feel kind of seamless where you get this concept and this idea or this clue, and then it ties into a character development maybe in the next episode. But it never feels too confusing on what's going on because when the flashbacks are used, they're used in a very perfect manner for what needed to happen in that episode, but leaves intriguing trails for the future. And it's not all jumping back and forth between the same different timelines. There's absolutely other different pasts where you get the past of another character where, okay, now we're finally starting to understand this and it ties into what this character is now dealing with in this episode. Or maybe it's dealing with what the character is going to be dealing with in the next episode. For me, all of these ideas are just wonderfully wrote out into such a powerful way that it makes it, again, a very intriguing show. And I just can't express enough how much I love this show so far. And I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. So make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Are you guys fans of the Godzilla Monsterverse that we're getting in the United States right now? Are you excited for the show? Let me know down below. As well as hit that like and subscribe button for more movie and TV content over here on a daily basis. So with that said, this is created by Matt Shakman. He is one of the main level creative heads. He developed WandaVision. He's doing the Fantastic Four series. And I think this guy just continues to show why he is one of the best creative visions out there. Like what he did with WandaVision with that talking piece after each and every episode. It's kind of that same way with Monarch, is that I'm so excited to talk about it with all the people who get to watch it eventually. And the same thing goes to the performances. So first off, Wyatt and Kurt Russell are phenomenal. Like, the fact that they're playing the same character, I understand it's father and son, but you really come to fruition to see how they're really bringing this character to life. And at first, I thought Wyatt was kind of a dick, and I didn't really love his character. I thought he was pretty one-noted. But once it introduces Kurt Russell, who is just phenomenal in this, and then you start gaining more flashbacks of Wyatt and understanding where he came from, that's where it really starts to tie together. The likes of Mari Yamamoto, I thought was fantastic. I think she is one of the beating hearts of this entire series. Specifically, again, going back to that concept of what I mentioned with the leftovers, is seeing how humanity is dealing with this, with their PTSD, with their grievance of these monsters and titans, and that, like, while we're watching them in the movies, and we just want to see Godzilla take down Kong, well, what's going on with the people underneath them? What's going on with these different levels of, like, Godzilla fighting these titans to protect us? But there's still casualties along the way. And when we're watching all the movies I have displayed, we don't really think about that. And in the show, it shows that destructive level. And I think that is one thing that Gareth Edwards did amazing in that first Godzilla, though, is showing, like, the leveling from below. And I think that kind of ties really much into what Monarch is all about. But also, along the likes, I'm a really big fan of Shota Shui, who I might be mispronouncing that, but he is excellent. And I think really much this entire cast, like every single person you meet in here, has a different motive or an alternative or a different thought that makes them not all feel one-dimensional like when we watch the other Godzilla pieces in this entire series and Monsterverse. And I find that to be great. I'm also very surprised to see, you know, I understand that Kong Skull Island is tied into this universe, but I'm actually kind of surprised to see how integrally tied it is. From the very opening shot of the first episode, I'm not even going to get into spoilers on that because this is a non-spoiler review, but it ties directly into that. And I was like, that's awesome. Because I know they've had little hints to it, but to see how this show is really taking a passion from that and Godzilla and the rest of this franchise makes me very excited to see the possibilities of what other characters they could explore within this universe that maybe have already passed, that have died, that leave those intriguing crumbs for when we go back and revisit these films. And when we look at Monarch as a whole, this government creepy facility and this entire organization, they've been so one-dimensional throughout the entire Monsterverse, but now we're getting to see a little bit of a deeper look into them. And while I will say by episode 5, I don't think they've dove completely into that, they've laid out a couple different things that make me go, okay, Monarch is very different than I expected them to be, and I love seeing these different ideas, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the series actually progresses that forward. On top of that, obviously, when you come to a show called Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, you're expecting to get some titans, monsters, all of that. When you do, they are awesome. They are incredible. And that's no flack. You know, they're not in every single one of the episodes. They're not in every single one of the moments. A lot of them play bigger parts in the flashbacks. Some of them play bigger parts in certain parts of the series. And you get to see a lot of new titans as well that we have not been able to see within the movies. And some of them, you know, obviously, like if Godzilla showed up, would probably be able to murder them in one hit. But you know, having humans have to interact with these certain titans makes it for a very creepy time and has those horror vibes that Godzilla would give. And I really love how they were able to give these like creepy crawly kind of things. Specifically, one monster that they deal with in the snow, that the effects of what this titan does towards this entire situation in this group that we're following, I really love that entire episode, because then again it plays back towards the flashbacks and certain things that our character is now seeing. And again, this show is just very brilliantly written while having incredible visual effects for a television show. But it's also just very matured in the way that it handles its characters and situations. Nothing feels superficial, nothing feels melodramatic, nothing feels even cheesy to a certain degree, which is actually something I was very worried about this show feeling was cheap and cheesy, and going towards some of the later X-Files that did feel into that vein, and some of the ones that didn't hold up. And it never really does. At the heart of this story, it is a conspiracy series, but it is a series about humans dealing with their issues in a world filled with monsters, and it just turns out that this group of people are tied to Monarch in one way, shape, or form. And I think Monarch, on just one certain scale, this is an epic and awesome show that I am very proud of. My only issue and grievance with it is I do think sometimes the show has a couple pacing issues because there's so many characters and so many different things to happen. It's not that every storyline I wasn't intrigued by, but there were times where I was so intrigued by one and then would jump to another one and be like, ah, damn it. And the pacing kind of starts to slow down a bit when I was just about to get another reveal. I understand that's TV. I understand that's movies, and typically things with this type of format do play into that. I just wish they kind of would have let it a little bit stronger, to just have a little bit of a stronger pacing to it. But I cannot wait to see the rest of the season, and if I were to give a rating so far, I'd give this season an A-. Monarch Legacy of Monsters surprised me in every sort of way and is an incredibly epic show that only dives deeper into the Godzilla lore, only dives deeper into the Monarch, but showcases the ground level of how humans are now dealing with this on a daily basis and how it has changed their world. And it feels so realistic in the approach that it's taking that it is very scary. Like, this could happen tomorrow, who knows? But with that said, guys, thank you so much again for clicking on this. You guys are really all the best. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like and subscribe button for more, and of course, until next time, stay classy.